Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Matt Horn
is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
What is up, my bandit legions? God Queen Tyrene coming at you live with my brother Troy. We're streaming, you're screaming, and we're all ready to open the great vaults.
Hey, Matt, I hope you picked up Borderlands 3 already, because that's what I'm going to be talking about in the podcast, mostly. At the very least, I hope you played the other Borderlands games. Anyway, yeah, looking forward to talking to you. This is going to be awesome. Boy, howdy, this message is getting really long, so I guess I should just go. So, bye-bye.
On the line, we have Jim Foronda talking to us. From where are you talking to us from, Jim?
I am speaking to you from Dallas, Texas.
Oh, what's the weather like?
Oh, gosh. Well, we have had a massive cold front come through the country. Texas is right in the middle. So whenever there's major weather that comes through, we went down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday or last night. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's cold here. It's below freezing. So it's cold for Texas.
I'm sure there's a song coming from you, Jim.
One thing that sucks about living in Texas is because we're, again, in the middle of the country. Whenever a front comes through, it blows in every plant allergen, everything possible through this city. So if you have allergies towards anything, you will not be able to breathe. A lot of my colleagues, we all are allergic to something, and just, when weather changes, we get super congested, and, oh gosh, we really have to dose up on allergy medications before we work.
Would you say it's cold in the Borderlands?
I would say it's very cold in the Borderlands. I think my character does experience the coldest of cold in the game. At least his butt does. I don't know if you've gotten to that part of the game yet. Yeah, Claptrap finds his butt plugging a hull breach in one part of the game. So he does experience the coldest possible cold, I think.
Well, obviously, this is why we've got you here. It's Borderlands 3. Interestingly enough, I was so glad when I got you, actually, Jim, because obviously we need to point out that we're talking about the current instalment, but actually, in fact, you've been in many an instalment. You've been in the original, the second one, obviously now the third one. What was production of the game like for you within this instalment?
It was interesting because, oh gosh, I had done a lot of voice work in Gearbox's previous game, Battleborn. I was in that a lot. So I got a call, actually no, it was a text message from one of the audio engineers, and they said, I don't know how things happen, I'm just an actor, but they had audition scripts for Claptrap, and I thought, I don't know why you want me to do this, but okay. So I read an audition for that, and I didn't hear back, so I thought, well, I screwed that one up. But a few months later, I got another call back, and they had some direction changes and slow it down a bit because I'd gone too fast and some other direction stuff. And so I recorded another set of auditions, and I didn't hear back for a while. And then about 2 months later, I got word that I had been cast as Claptrap for Borderlands 3. And that was over 2 years ago, so I had to sit on that for quite some time. When Borderlands 2 VR came out, they had to add some VR tutorial lines for the game, and they needed to drop me right in the middle of David Edding's existing dialogue. So they wanted me to get as close as possible to that, and I did. And people were asking, well, who did that? So I was allowed to say, oh, that was me. But then people started saying, oh, are you going to be Claptrap in Borderlands 3? But I wasn't allowed to say that yet, so I was instructed, due to like publisher regulations and stuff and everything, I would just say, gosh, I sure hope so. That was awkward because that was almost a year before I could, say that I was Claptrap in Borderlands 3. Anyway, started recording about a year before the game's release, and over the course of that year, maybe about 2 months before game release, I think we had completed recording for Claptrap, and then the game came out.
Bit of a big question here, Jim. What do you think it is about Borderlands as a franchise that makes it so popular?
Oh gosh, there are multiple things you could touch upon. You could touch upon the story, you could touch upon the characters in the story, the gameplay, the visual style. For me, when I played the first Borderlands game, it was the gameplay. I had played Diablo, and there's something about that gameplay loop of get a weapon to kill a boss, to get a better weapon to kill a bigger boss, and that cycle just continues. And that could get boring after a while, so you need some sort of story or some sort of great visual element to go along with it. And I wasn't in the main game of Borderlands, the first one. I was in the first downloadable content. So while I'm in the first game, technically I'm in the extension of the first game. But I bought the game because I knew that I was going to be in it, and it looked interesting. And when I started playing it, there's something. It's a dopamine rush when, surprise, here's the boss exploded. Here's all these fun new weapons that you can pick through and look at, and then you find something that's really great, and it's like Christmas morning every time you kill a boss or a monster in a Borderlands game, and you look at the loot that you get, and you hope that there's something really great in it. Maybe you didn't get what you wanted this time, so go kill something else, and maybe you'll get it next time. The gameplay, that's a big draw. And then the art style was something very unique to it as well. I think the only other game I had experienced with a similar type of art style at the time was Jet Set Radio on the Dreamcast. And I know that Jet Set Radio and Borderlands use two completely different shading processes, but that kind of comic booky illustrated style that Borderlands had was also something unlike anything else at the time. And then the characters that were introduced, they weren't as deep in Borderlands 1, but then Borderlands 2 came out, and there was a lot more story, a lot more character development in both the NPCs and the player characters, and they built upon that. And then with Tales from the Borderlands, which is done by Telltale, we got a story-based game that added even more lore to it, and then there was pre-sequel, and now we have Borderlands 3. They've created a really big universe, and there's so much to experience in it. There's a lot to Borderlands that makes it as good and as fun as it is. And not only being in it, but I'm an avid player of the Borderlands games, and it's really cool to both play and be a part of it.
I don't know if you know what happened today, as in what was released today, because you seem an avid gamer, you seem to know your stuff. Diablo, Jet Set Radio on the Dreamcast, exactly. The new, revamped Sonic trailer, which, I don't know if you've seen it, looks absolutely fantastic. Looks so much better.
Oh, it's amazing. He looks like Sonic. He looks like the Sonic we all know and love, and he's furry, and he sounds great. When I saw the new trailer, I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. Well, technically, I guess you could say 70s, 80s, and 90s. But I remember seeing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live-action one with the Jim Henson puppet suits, and, oh gosh, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and, oh gosh, also Power Rangers, the live-action Power Rangers movie. I was in college. I saw it with a buddy of mine. It was weird because I think we were two of the only adults in the theater without children. But there's something about those licensed full-length feature film movies of the 80s and 90s that, I don't know, the Sonic trailer just kind of feels like that. It feels like one of those silly kid-focused movies with the dumb jokes and I'm looking forward to it so much now. It's amazing how making Sonic look like Sonic just totally seals the deal for the whole picture. And also how they incorporated some of the game music and the game sound effects and little Easter eggs. If you look, there's a scene where he's playing baseball against himself, and he has a headband, and it has the original Sonic the Hedgehog logo in the headband. There are people that worked on that movie that really did love the source material. I don't know how the original design came about. I'm thinking maybe there was a producer or a movie executive that didn't like the cartoon Sonic and felt that it should be more realistic in some weird kind of, I don't know, live-action movie way, I guess. I don't know. The fact that they went back and they redid everything, all those animators just kind of cranking to get Sonic done the way he is now, bravo to them. Bravo to the production team for realizing, maybe we should go back and revisit this. I'm looking forward to it.
Two things that strike me to mind. You hated the Super Mario Brothers movie? What are you on?
Trust me, I like the Super Mario Brothers movie simply due to how strange it is. They went so far from the source material that it's mind-boggling. Yeah, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, and oh gosh, who played Daisy in that? So you have this really great cast, And I love the story about how Bob Hoskins did it because his children begged him to. And it's like this fever dream of somebody playing Super Mario Brothers and said, let's make a movie out of this. And they just went in the most bizarre direction. It's enjoyable for simply how strange it is and how bizarre and how different it is from, again, for the source material. And you wonder, sometimes you wonder, how did they get to point B from point A? Point A being the game and point B being the movie with the giant dinosaur Goombas with the tiny heads and what? Super Mario Brothers, it's not a good movie, but for some reason, it's a fun movie to watch. I own a copy of it on Blu-ray. It's weird.
Well, this is part and parcel to the next question. Obviously, we've talked about Sonic and we've talked about Super Mario Brothers. Could you ever see, and this is where I'm sort of going to rattle the fans here, could you ever see them doing a Borderlands adaptation?
Oh gosh, I hope so. Because there's been talks about it. I think, golly, a few years ago, they spoke about Legendary Pictures, I think, is doing it, and Avi Arad is producing it. My guess is that they were working on it, and then things kind of went silent, and I'm betting, and this is my guess, because this is at a level in Gearbox that I know nothing about, because, again, I'm down in audio, and I record stuff, but I'm thinking that studio head said, well, I don't know, this next Borderlands game might not do so hot, so perhaps we should wait to make the movie. I'm thinking that they were waiting to see how Borderlands 3 did before deciding whether or not they should make the movie. So I'm sure there's somebody in a studio office somewhere working on getting a Borderlands movie done, because they've already talked about it. It's been in, what's the term, development hell, I guess. It would be possible to do it live action. Animated would be really cool, but live action, I think, could be done. When you think back to some comic book movies, some of them look kind of dorky, some of them look really good. When Marvel started doing movies with Iron Man, they were able to take that visual style of the comic book page, the bright colors of the costumes, and they made it work on film. So if you can take a talking raccoon from a comic book page and put it in a movie and make you feel emotions for that talking raccoon, empathize with a talking raccoon when it loses its best friend. Oh god, endgame spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it. Then the right filmmakers, I think, could do a good Borderlands adaptation live action. Totally. I have faith in creative work. I think a live action Borderlands could work.
Are there any sort of funny anecdotes you can share about the production of Borderlands 3?
Oh gosh. Well, I will say that the first time I saw the Calypso twins was, almost, I'd say, about 5 years ago. I was recording downloadable content for Battleborn, and I was walking through the halls to stop and say hi to folks that I've become friends with over the time of working on Battleborn, and I saw some concept art on the wall, and I saw these two characters, and it was Troy and Tyrene Calypso. I asked, who are these characters? Are these for Battleborn? And they said, no, these are the villains for Borderlands 3. And I thought, wow. And they told me a little bit about it. I was super NDA'd at Gearbox, so they felt comfortable letting me know. Yeah, and 5 years later, game comes out. Something that made it into the game that originally was not recorded for the game was a Claptrap rap. Gearbox started a merchandise store online, gearboxloot.com, and they would do special little limited run things, and they were doing a Claptrap mixtape. And so Dante Silva, one of the writers, I actually became friends with him working on Battleborn. I actually played Dungeons & Dragons with him and a group of friends for, a good 2 years in between Battleborn and Borderlands 3. Anyway, so he sends me a text message and he says, hey, how's your rap game? And I'm thinking, okay, I guess. And so he had the idea of this mixtape, this Borderlands mixtape, was going to be just instrumental. And he thought, well, what if we had Claptrap rapping? And so we were just going to do it kind of as a test, a proof of concept, right? And so the audio engineer, Andrew Cheney, said, yeah, I'll come on in and record you and put the processing on it. Why not? Early one day before a Dungeons & Dragons game, Saturday afternoon, literally maybe 1 or 2 takes, and Andrew put the processing on it, and they threw it together with Sean Ahern, the musician, and they put it together. And, Dante's like, okay, let's play this for folks and see if they like it. And turns out they did like it. And a lot of people liked it. And holy cow, it kind of spread through the the company like wildfire. And so they ended up using it. Oh gosh, they put it on the mixtape, and then they used it to count down to the trailer reveal. And people on YouTube were saying, where's this rap? Where can I get a hold of it? And I'm sorry, not just YouTube, social media everywhere, but some people had ripped it from the stream and put it on YouTube, and then they ended up putting it in the game, which I didn't know they were going to do. I was playing the game, and I heard through one of the in-game radio stations, I heard myself rapping, and I thought, oh, okay. This one kind of kernel of, hey, this might be fun to do, became something that just people loved and went all the way into the final version of the game. I'm hoping, now that the game has sold like 11 billion copies, I wish in the future there would be a Balex Claptrap rap battle, which, of course, Balex would totally destroy Claptrap. But then, Claptrap would totally think that he won anyway because he's Claptrap. If I could have a rap battle with Ice-T, I could cross that off my bucket list.
Well, Jim, surprise, surprise. Because on the line...
Oh, God. I was reading lyrics off of a script when I was doing that. Ice-T, he's a musician, artist. In real life, I would be decimated incredibly.
Oh, dear. Let's talk a bit about you, Jim. You yourself. Let's go there. What made you want to get into the industry in the first place?
Boy, this is a long story. Okay, so I'll start off. When I was a kid, I liked, like any kid, mimicking the voices I hear on TV and cartoons and stuff. I was in high school drama. I was in some student films in college. I originally wanted to go into film studies and become a director, but I had friends who had graduated the year that I started school, and none of them could find work. So I thought, oh gosh, maybe I should go into something else. So I actually went into advertising. That was something else that had intrigued me since I was a kid. When I was a kid, there was this educational special on, hey kids, here's how advertisers try to trick you. And they showed things like, ice cream's not really ice cream, it's vegetable shortening made to look like ice cream so it doesn't melt under the hot camera lights, and stuff like that. To my young, malleable brain, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So that kind of stuck with me, and I became an advertising copywriter. And I graduated from school. I got a job at an advertising agency in Florida. I wrote, brochures for ceiling tiles and a vision care company prospectus for investors. Really thrilling stuff. Then I got laid off from that job, moved to Texas because somebody I'd worked with in Tampa had also moved to Texas, and they were working on Pizza Hut promotions for Star Wars Episode 1, and they knew that I was a Star Wars fan. So they brought me over there, worked on that for a while, worked on Pizza Hut. The head of the company had previously worked for Hasbro, so there was a spec job writing a G.I. Joe or Action Man on your end commercial, and they knew that I was kind of a toy-friendly person, so I was brought on to write that. And that spec commercial ended up getting us, over about a year, all of the Hasbro business. We did G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, everything, games and everything like that. So I ended up working on Hasbro for 13 years. But anyway, sorry, this, again, long story. So 2002 or 2001, we had a computer-animated G.I. Joe commercial. And originally there was union talent in there, fancy pants voice actors. There's a calculation error, and it turned out they didn't have the money to pay the residuals for that. So they ended up paying those actors their session fees. But then after that, it didn't leave any money for any other actors. So there was this emergency recasting of agency personnel. They just threw everybody into the booth. We didn't slate our names or anything. We just read for characters. And they ended up casting me as Duke, Destro, Cobra Commander, Heavy Duty, and a British reporter, all in the same commercial. So when Hasbro found out about that, they started asking me to do stuff in other commercials. I was also Optimus Prime and Unicron in a Transformers commercial, and then Megatron in a Transformers commercial. So basically, I started doing all this voice work, and then our new producer, after hearing all of this, he told me, you could do this on the side. So I put a reel together, and I took it to an agency in Dallas, and I got signed with that agency for representation. And the first non-Hasbro voice work I did was for a local high school football stadium to sell concessions in that stadium. And the first anime work I did was for a villain in the show Case Closed. Not a villain, a victim. Sorry. A victim in the TV show Case Closed, or Detective Conan, where I got murdered on a cruise ship, killed real bad. And I did voice work as a side gig with my advertising job for, until 2013 when I got laid off from my advertising job. And Hasbro, basically, they got a new chief marketing person, and they wanted to go with a different ad agency. And so we lost like 3/4 of the business, meaning 3/4 of the agency got let go. And at that time, I told myself I'm going to try to do voice acting full time, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. I looked for another advertising job, but when you write toy commercials for 13 years, people think you can't write anything else. Even though I would say, look at this Vision Care Company investment prospectus. I can do stuff other than toys, but nobody wanted to hear it. So I went into voice acting full time, and I still do writing freelance on the side. I've been doing some script writing for some folks for like a theme parkish type thing. But anyway, that was a long meandering story, but that's how I got into voice acting.
So obviously I've been looking at your IMDb, and I'm noticing a lot of Japanese anime connections and projects, as well as the sort of Western stuff like Borderlands and the franchise. Would you say it's a lot easier to get into the Western side of things rather than the Japanese thing, or vice versa?
The thing about recording anime is that you're fitting a performance into an already existing space. So that's always challenging, to get anime sounding natural, or to get the performance to kind of match the emotion and the feeling of what is there before, but in a different space, into mouth flaps. English and Japanese are so wildly different. The script has to be written to try to match those mouth flaps. And it's always kind of like an acting filter. You have to act through that filter of fitting it into those spaces. I enjoy dubbing anime. It's a lot of fun, and it's challenging. But when you're recording for something in the West, you are usually recording what's called prelay, where you are recording before stuff is animated or before anything else is done. And you have that freedom to ad-lib and to take your time in a performance if necessary. Prelay is always going to be preferential, because you don't have to filter your feelings and your timing in your space like you have to do with anime. So that would be the major difference. Of course, sometimes you do have to do dub or ADR for Western stuff. For example, in Borderlands 3, that opening stealth time sneaking that Claptrap does, that was already animated for a demo before I had even started recording for it. So they played that video of him tiptoeing and sneaking through behind rocks and stuff to try to stay hidden. And I ad-libbed the entire stealth time song to that. I actually did 2 takes of that. So again, he doesn't have a mouth, so I could say whatever I wanted to, but I had to try to match his motions that he was doing, his tiptoeing and his jumping on the ground and his hiding and his sliding.
I mean, if, say for example, me, if I want to get into either Western or Japanese anime dubbing, as it were, how would I do it?
Oh gosh, there are many different ways people get into voice acting. There are a lot of advertising people turned voice actors. From what I understand, Don LaFontaine, the movie trailer guy, apparently he was an advertising script writer, and somebody said, "Hey, you've got a great voice. You should do this," and that's how he got into it. But now, with the advent of the internet and digital entertainment, there are a lot of YouTubers and podcasters and streamers that have gotten into voice acting as well. ProZD or Sun Wang Cho, he became just a huge celebrity doing his short comedic videos and stuff, and then he started voice acting from that. And he'd actually been voice acting for quite some time before being cast in Borderlands 3. I usually tell people acting is the key thing, some sort of acting experience. That is key for any sort of voice acting. Community theater, doing radio play type shows for social media, anything like that where there's some sort of performance involved, that really helps. And some people, they will, there's places like Casting Call Club, where people will audition for little independent projects, animations that appear on YouTube, indie games, that type of thing. And so a lot of people, they have built up a library of produced work for independent projects, and then they put reels together, and then they shop them around, they get agents, or sometimes those independent projects become so popular and so big that they're approached by anime companies and stuff. There are more avenues now getting into voice acting than there were before the internet was as prolific as it is now.
I never thought I would talk about this ever in one of my podcasts. How do I even start this one? It's become a huge phenomenon, huge phenomenon, and I caught the tail end of the season, if I'm brutally honest. I didn't know what was going on. I think I'm one of those sort of over 30s who doesn't quite know what Fortnite is. And obviously I'm watching people, I don't know what they were doing. They were firing missiles up and doing all that, and then a black hole appeared for about 2 days. And obviously we should point out that you were in the... Is it the original or is it an ongoing thing?
So Fortnite, they do... I think the first thing they did was with the Avengers. They do these promo things. Fortnite started out as a team-based co-op tower defense crafting game. And the story is that they worked on that game for 5 years. And then one weekend, Battle Royale was starting to become a thing, and I guess some of the programmers at Epic, they thought, as just a side project, they threw together a Battle Royale setup in the Fortnite, environments as just something for fun. And it started becoming kind of popular, I guess, in the studio, and they thought, maybe we should throw that out for the public to play as well. And they did, and then that little experiment they did became more popular than the original Fortnite game, which is crazy. I was playing the Save the World, as they call it, the co-op tower defense crafting style. I loved it. It was the closest thing we had to Left 4 Dead. But anyway, so in Fortnite, with the Battle Royale thing, it's free to play, and they do these big promotions. Like John Wick was in it, and I think they had some NFL American football players in it, I think, at some point in time. But then, they wanted to put Claptrap and a Psycho skin and some other stuff in the game. So they called me in to record some lines for what they called the back bling, essentially a Claptrap backpack that would talk to you. And that was fun. So I ended up being in Fortnite for the Borderlands cross promotion, which was a lot of fun.
I've got nothing against Fortnite at all. My only sort of thing as a journalist is the amount of stories you read in the papers about like these 13, 15-year-old kids racking up $3,500 of money in buying these skins and these weapons and all that stuff. Just give them the weapons and the skins free. Don't ask them to buy more.
Free-to-play games can be fair or they can be predatory, essentially. Because I think the best types of free-to-play games are where you can earn that in-game currency just by playing. You do certain things and you earn enough currency to where you can buy some of the cool stuff. Or if you want to put some money into it and buy a couple of the cool things on your own, then go ahead. I think, dumping thousands of dollars into cosmetics and stuff for a game, that's I don't know how that happens. I don't know if maybe the parents weren't savvy on the parental controls and the limits in the game. I play a couple of free-to-play games on my phone, in pastime. Never put any money into them because they're fun enough to just play without having to buy any extra stuff. They're well balanced like that. I don't feel like I need to pay anything to play them. But I get my advertising. I see the advertisements. Cool. Awesome. It's hard to figure out where blame is placed when you see kids racking up tons of money buying cosmetics because somebody had to put the credit card information into the console. There is some responsibility there. In the early days of it where, like before there were purchasing limits and stuff, like on, it was something on the Apple Store, and then Apple, they realized, maybe we should put some better parental protections in there. And they put a thing in there where parents could limit, through a code or whatever, how much their kids could spend. Or they could basically turn off downloadable purchases completely. And all the major consoles and stuff like that have that now. So I think the tools are there. If you're going to let your child kind of run wild on a console, you should learn about that, before putting your money information into it. Loot boxes, I'm not too fond of those. I mean, if people want to buy loot boxes, awesome. But in games where you have your currency that you save up, and then, okay, it's taken me a week to save up enough currency to buy one loot box. I'm going to open up this loot box, and I didn't get anything that I wanted. I mean, that's not really a commercial enticing me to spend money to open more loot boxes, because if I spend in real life money on it, and the thing that I'm hoping for is not in there, then, well, the odds aren't any better. I feel more comfortable buying something that I know I'm going to get, as opposed to buying into a slot machine that might get me the game content that I want. I don't have any problem with buying something in a game, a cosmetic or an item, if I know that's what I'm going to get. If it's randomized and I might not get anything, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't purchase loot boxes.
Well, we get onto the black hole. Did you see any of this at all, Jim? Because I thought it was the most fantastic ever marketing thing I think I've ever seen in my life. You see the whole map get destroyed by whatever it was, and then it turns into this black hole. And everyone thought, that's it. We can go back to normal life again. It was like the end of the Truman Show, really, in some respects. You know, the bit where he goes, oh, so what's on now then? What else is on? It felt like that. And then I suddenly realised that I started to get a bit addicted. I mean, I've never obviously played the game or knew much of it, but then I started to get really addicted to, sort of looking at it every so often. Like, 5 hours go past, it's still there, And then 5 hours go, oh no, it's still there, and you're thinking, why am I looking at this bloody black hole?
It was brilliant because, they took a break. I'm sure during that off time, they were able to update and refurbish all of their server-side coding and stuff like that. They probably made a bunch of improvements, a bunch of technical improvements that would have taken a lot of downtime, out of the game to do. And so turning it into this big kind of marketing thing was great because it added to the mystique of it. It was no longer, a message saying, sorry, but Fortnite will not be available for a while because we're going to be doing maintenance. It's much cooler when there's a black hole that ends the universe. And then as an adult, I knew, oh, this is clever. I wonder what's going to be like when it comes back. But apparently there were some people that legitimately thought that Fortnite had ended. There were people that were complaining, I spent a lot of money on cosmetics and you just ended it like that. Oh, it was clever. When people finally figured out, oh, it's going to be coming back and it's going to be different, it's going to be newer, then people were just anticipating it. It was very clever. It reminded me of something. There is a cable channel called Sci-Fi Channel.
I know of it.
Okay, so when I was in college, they were launching the Sci-Fi Channel. It was a big deal. And then a month before the channel went on air, you would turn to a channel on your cable service, and it was like this warp effect. The Millennium Falcon or the Enterprise basically traveling at warp speed and stars are flying by. These voices saying, like, we come for you, Captain Kirk. We come for you, Han Solo. I don't know how long the loop was, but it would be, we come for you, Michael Jordan. We come for you, Chevrolet. And it was just anything. We come for you, French fries or chips on your end of the world. It just went on for a month. And I never heard any of them repeat. I can't imagine how long the script was. And then it just kind of drummed up the premiere date of Sci-Fi Channel going on air. But it was like this weird space warp with, I guess, alien voices saying that they were coming for the stuff of planet Earth. I wonder, I got to look up and see if anybody recorded any of that and put it on YouTube. I'm going to do some research on that now when I get off of when we're done with the interview.
I mean, I thought the best part was everyone was talking about, it's a black hole. But then people were going, but I can see numbers in this black hole. I can see numbers, Jim. And you're thinking, no, you can't. Oh, no, wait, you can.
There is a term for it in advertising and marketing. And I don't know if it was augmented reality or there's a term for it in advertising and marketing where you would make a campaign a game. You would hide things in it. When the PlayStation launched in 1995 in the United States, the advertising agency Chiat Day, I think it was, they hid game codes in the TV commercials. You'd have to record them on VHS and then pause it. They hid game codes in the legal that you would read at the bottom. Every time a new ad would come out, I would scour the ad looking for something, and then they would be codes for the very game that you would be playing. Really clever, because it made people not only just watch the ad, but actually look at the ad multiple times and keep looking at it to try to find what's the hidden thing. They made a game of watching advertising. It was crazy. And I think really good campaigns have a lot of fun with that now, where they hide stuff in promotional materials, and sometimes it's entertaining. For example, there were clues for Borderlands 3's storyline hidden in Battleborn, in the downloadable content. And there were these clouds that would pop up, these rifts in space, and there was this weird audio signal that would come through. And hidden within the audio signal was some Morse code. And so some fans basically recorded that, and they were able to find the Morse code hidden in this kind of garbled audio, and they found the clues. I don't have the patience for something that deep. I like some, clues and stuff like that hidden in things, but when it comes down to like number crunching and codexes and stuff like that, it's kind of fun to see other people decode that. I never got to work on a campaign like that for Hasbro, but boy howdy, it would have been a lot of fun to do so, I think.
Well, I'm going to give you a 1 minute plug, Jim. 1 minute plug. To plug Borderlands 3 and anything else you've got coming up pending NDA agreements.
Oh gosh. Well, Borderlands 3, I will say I hope everybody got the Super Deluxe version of Borderlands 3 that had the Season Pass included, because just saying, Season Pass is going to have some cool stuff coming with it. Oh gosh. You can catch me in the show Black Clover, which is airing on Cartoon Network on Adult Swim. I play the the Royal Magic Knight N. Ringard, who has fungus magic. He has control over mushrooms. And I've got a new character in the show Radiant, which is streaming on Funimation now. I play Baron Paz, who is part of the Merchants Guild, the Merchant Barons. And there's stuff that I can't talk about that I'm excited about, but there you have it.
There you go, Jim. Wonderful stuff. Well, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, Jim.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Obviously, we'll have to get you back.
I probably rambled too much, but yeah, I have a tendency to talk to people a lot.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Matt.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.